Dinosaurs on the movie screen capture the imagination. They're big. They're mean. In reality, they even exceed the imagination as more fantastic discoveries continue to be made. Velociraptor, Utah raptor, Deinonychus, the terrible claw, Supersaurus, Ultrasaurus, even Seismosaurus, the earth shaker. They just keep getting bigger. Most of what we know about dinosaurs we've learned from the fossils they left behind. A new species is discovered every few weeks, but we're just beginning to scratch the surface.
I want to be a paleontologist when I grow up.
I'm really interested in why they disappeared and why they ruled so many years.
It's just like real cool to just dig up fossils and everything like that.
If your idea of a good time is getting down and dirty in a fossil quarry, or comparing your footprints to those of an ancient reptile, exploring a prehistoric death scene captured in a wall of bones, or pits of bubbling ooze, we'll show you where to indulge your dinosaur fantasies. Museums and science centers across the country are preparing skeletons and models for exciting new exhibits. The remains of long-gone creatures take their place next to high-tech animatronic versions of their ancestors. Those dinosaur destinations are waiting to be explored. T-Rex and his pals left their dinosaur tracks, so let's follow them.
You left his dinosaur tracks. Dinosaur tracks in the ground. Dinosaur tracks in the ground to be found by you and me. You left his dinosaur tracks. Dinosaur tracks in the ground. Dinosaur tracks in the ground to be found by you and me.
The first dinosaur skeletons found in America were discovered in New Jersey in the mid-1800s. A great Mesozoic museum was planned in New York City's Central Park to display full-size models of these strange animals. A sculptor named Benjamin Hawkins was brought over from England to build the beasts.
He set up a studio and he started making his sculptures, some of which I guess were actually completed. But in those days, there was a lot of graft being paid to the boss Tweed ring. And I think what happened was when Tweed wasn't paid off, he sent his strong-arm boys into Hawkins' studio and smashed up all the figures and all the molds. These were then buried in Central Park, and to this day, theoretically, those figures are still buried, waiting for some future paleontologist to dig them up and maybe be amazed at what he finds.
Across the street from the park, newly renovated dinosaur halls in the American Museum of Natural History showcase the greatest collection of fossils anywhere. Dino fanatics have been searching museums for years looking for their favorite dinosaur celebrities, standing awestruck with their mouths agape. It's pre-hysteria!
You see, a fossil dinosaur must be over 80 feet long. It's got to be just fantasy. You think, then realize you're wrong. A trip to the museum, maybe that's where we'll find a clue. White creatures long extinct have such magic for me and you. Hallucination, you say, paranoia, no way, it's pre-hysteria.
Early fossil finders in Colorado and Wyoming struggled to pull bones out of isolated places like this. Today, it's easier. You can find a dino dig with its own off-ramp from Interstate 70 in Colorado.
And when we found that the off-ramp was already built here, we decided to turn off here.
Walked up the gully just about where we're standing, picked up a rock, turned it over, and you can guess what it was. It was a centrum of a dinosaur vertebrae. You know, we figure if you're going to find a dinosaur quarry with bones that weigh 500 and 600 pounds each, you might as well do it on an interstate with an off-ramp.
We thought that was pretty nice that all these dinosaurs decided to die right here.
Well, I go out to the quarry at the crack of dawn. I take my pick and hammer, chip those fossils all day long. I do the rock quarry rock. I do the rock quarry roll. I do the rock quarry rock till there's nothing in the ground but a hole.
We have groups from all over the country, individuals and organized groups that come out and pay to dig out here. Their money, their fees that they pay to help us dig is what supports this project.
I really dig what I'm digging, take bones out by the ton. To get someone to help with that, it only spoil the fun. I do the rock quarry rock. I do the rock quarry roll. I do the rock quarry rock till there's nothing in the ground but a hole.
We found several specimens of a large long-necked dinosaur, Patasaurus. We have at least two big adult individuals, 70, 80-foot animals, and one baby about 12 foot long. We also have another long-necked dinosaur, Camarasaurus, and Diplodocus and Barosaurus. And finally, they're a meat-eating dinosaur. Most common is Allosaurus, and we also have a specimen of probably Ceratosaurus. We run a dinosaur kids camp in parallel with our adult program.
If I pronounced it the way I spelled it, it's Camarasaurus. Camarasaurus.
A kid that's real interested in dinosaurs knows enough by the time they're in junior high that the work in the quarry takes a lot of patience. And we had a 13-year-old girl find a dinosaur egg in the quarry. If you're interested in our program, call 1-800-DIG-DINO.
Uh-oh, this place looks and sounds like the world's largest dentist's office. Well, they do scrape teeth here. Teeth and a lot more. This is the Paleo Prep Lab, a few miles from the quarry, where fossils are carefully prepared for display.
We think it's a Camarasaurus. That's a small plant eater, smaller than a Patasaurus. This is one of the vertebrae that fell out, and I'm currently working on it. This is where the spinal column goes down.
In the museum, pampered prehistorics are safe from the elements in the first permanent home for animatronic dinosaurs. Here you can interact one-on-one with your dinosaur favorites. You can even make your own Pachycephalosaurus do tricks. Okay, boy, sit up, roll over, play extinct. Welcome to Dinosaur Gardens in Vernal, Utah, home to friendly prehistorics always willing to pose for pictures. Well, most are friendly. The Utah Fieldhouse next to the gardens is a natural history museum that displays finds from the area, including nearby Dinosaur National Monument. Budding paleontologists can practice their field techniques here and earn a dinosaur hunting license.
Museums give us the opportunity to see science up close and personally. We have a lot of children that visit who are really enthralled with dinosaurs, and this is a chance for them to come and look at the bones, look at the models, get an idea of what these animals look like.
Danny Anderson was hired as a maintenance man for the museum, but he got a much bigger job than he'd bargained for.
I'm putting together a Diplodocus. When I was hired 2 years ago, this was a pile of bones laying on the floor. This is a cast of 3 dinosaurs. It took 3 to get enough bones to make one. So these big leg bones are made out of fiberglass. It makes them light to work with, and then we can run the steel pipe through the center of those. This is a fun part of my job because I get to do kind of what all boys dream of doing, I guess, is tinkering on things, and that's some of what this is all about. is you just have to sit back and look at it and decide how it's going to have to go, because there's no set books on how to put especially this dinosaur together.
26,000 years ago, just yesterday in prehistory, a giant mammoth went looking for a relaxing dip in a South Dakota hot spring and found himself in hot water in more ways than one. He got stuck in a sinkhole created by a collapsing underground cavern. Continuing excavation has uncovered the skeletons of at least 100 mammoths, as well as other fossils. Digging is supervised by scientists working with crews made up largely of volunteers.
Well, I chipped away a shin bone, I scraped away a toe. I'm digging out a pelvis that'll shake and rock and roll. I do the rock quarry rock. I do the rock quarry roll. I do the rock quarry rock till there's nothing in the ground but a hole. One more time!
60 million years elapsed between the disappearance of the dinosaurs and the arrival of the mammoths. It requires the same careful, patient work, whether you're removing stegosaur or mammoth bones. About the same time, the Pleistocene epoch to be exact, other unfortunate creatures found themselves in a sticky situation in what is now a park in the middle of Los Angeles. Their watering hole hit a huge bog of oozing asphalt just beneath the surface, waiting to swallow them up. The more they struggled in the sticky tar, the deeper they sank. Fossil remains and replicas of trapped victims are on display in the Page Museum next to the pits.
Think of the time they call the Pleistocene, when giant sloths and mammoths made the scene. They move up nice and slow, get stuck and down they go, swallowed up by tar before you know. Like I said, swallowed up by tar before you know. Going down, 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 down in the tar pits, deep, 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 right to the bottom, brother. Black pools of asphalt since 40 KBC, trapping creatures great and small for posterity. Going down, 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 down in the tar pits, deep, 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 right to the bottom, brother. Black pools of asphalt since 40 KBC, trapping creatures great and small for posterity.
Mammoths showed up long after the dinosaurs. The little creatures found at this site were squirming around long before the big guys showed up. We're talking old here.
It's a Leptania brachiopod. There's another one here. See this one? You've got both parts of the trilobite here. You've got the mold. This is the head part of it. The tail has been broken off. But there's the mold and there's the actual fossilized trilobite right there. I wish we could have got that whole thing with the tail included. That was a real nice find. Good job, Matt.
The Petrified Creatures Museum is a real hands-on kind of place, just up the road from the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown.
That's a trilobite called a Dalmatides. 390 million years old.
I got a coral. Hey, look, a coral. Look at this brachiopod.
Oh, that's a nice brachiopod. This one is called the Dinorthus.
This is fossil finding with a guarantee. No one goes home without a fossil. Once you've had enough of being an amateur paleontologist, there are replicas to help indulge favorite fantasies, like being a dinosaur wrangler.
Howdy, partner!
There you go.
These may not be the most accurate models ever assembled, but that's hardly important to these dino fans. What do you think of this place? And which one is the most popular? No competition there.
Tyrannosaurus Rex. Tyrannosaurus Rex Hunter. Thrills and kills.
Big Bad Rex, Big Bad Rex is on the prowl. He's the biggest, baddest hunter of his day. Big Bad Rex, mighty king of beast and fowl, and if you see him, better keep out of his way.
He's scarier than all the other dinosaurs, and I like scary stuff.
When this dinosaur is a baby, he's just very like a playful puppy, but is really deadly when he's full grown or even half grown.
Big Bad Rex, Big Bad Rex is on the prowl. He's the biggest, baddest hunter of his day. Big Bad Rex, mighty king of beast and fowl, and if you see him, better keep out of his way.
This T-Rex and his apatosaur pal greet visitors at Dinosaur Valley State Park, south of Fort Worth, Texas. Their ancestors left a pretty big impression around here 100 million years ago. The area is covered with dinosaur footprints, some of the first discovered in North America. Many were found at the bottom of the river, and paleontologists went to work to dig them out.
He left his dinosaur tracks in the ground.
The prints of a giant brontosaur were identified, as well as those of a predator that was stalking the beast, probably a relative of T-Rex.
It's called a Acrocanthosaurus, and you can kind of see the outline of its toes right here. This is a claw.
Fossils and skeletons tell us how creatures looked. But the footprints they left behind tell dinosaur detectives how they moved and behaved. A record of the animal in action.
In the heel mark.
The math is simple. The height of the leg and the length of the stride gives you the animal's speed. Some of these guys were moving pretty fast. And since no tail prints have been found, they weren't waddling along slowly, dragging their tails, but walking at an efficient, warm-blooded pace.
Dinosaur tracks in the ground. Dinosaur tracks in the ground to be found by you and me.
At Dinosaur State Park near Hartford, Connecticut, a geodesic dome protects a fossil mudflat covered with hundreds of prehistoric prints. Careful where you park. A Triassic traffic jam is captured in stone. This was a major dinosaur thoroughfare. Displays surrounding the trackway tell how the prints were formed and what animals made them.
We do have a good idea of what kind of animal was walking around here in the mud 200 million years ago. He was probably carnivorous because here, for instance, you can see where it has a very sharp claw at the end of the toe print. Okay, that mark there.
Using actual castings of the tracks, visitors can make their own plaster dinosaur print to take home with them. Your parents never let you do this kind of thing at home.
Sorry, Mom. Got it on you.
You've heard of hands-on learning? Well, this is more like hands-in.
Okay.
Can you guess where that hand is going?
Hey, baby. Go down the hill.
While waiting for the plaster tracks to dry, you can make tracks of your own into the swamp at Dinosaur State Park.
Still just a little soft. Not quite ready.
Watch this.
Here it comes.
Watch this.
Isn't that neat?
They made it.
It's a party cake.
Isn't that
Party
fun? You
cake.
did it all by yourself. A party cake, huh?
Oh,
wow.
Beautiful.
We actually
We
did
did
it.
it.
How many of your friends have a real dinosaur footprint?
New knowledge about dinosaurs challenges the outdated notion of pea-brained giants lumbering through swamps, as illustrated in this 50-year-old mural at Yale University. But when these images first caught the public's attention, they created a Bronto-sized craze as big as coonskin caps and hula hoops.
The dinosaur craze of the 1950s can be traced directly to the publication of this magazine, featuring a Pulitzer Prize-winning painting by Rudolph Zallinger, which he did for the Peabody Museum of Natural History at Yale University. It was after the publication of this magazine that we saw the first commercially sold plastic dinosaur toys, the first model kits, the first spate of dinosaur movies, comic books, breakfast cereal premiums, you name it. Dinosaurs were hot in the 1950s, and we can trace them all to this magazine.
How do they do it? Can't believe my eyes. Is that a lizard blown up dinosaur size? Here comes T-Rex, it's special effects dinosaur movie. I took my lady to a picture show. The place was shaking right to the back row, 'cause on the screen they were showing dinosaur movies. Dinosaur movies. Dinosaur movies. Dinosaur movies.
The Dinosaur Hall in the Peabody Museum at Yale exhibits impressive skeletons of Apatosaurus, formerly known as Brontosaurus, Stegosaurus, and others. The Peabody is also home to the first fossils ever found of the creature that would radically change many of our basic notions about dinosaurs.
Some of the dinosaurs were not sluggish, slow-moving animals, but must have been very rapid, agile, active creatures, perhaps much more like big birds than big lizards.
Paleontologist John Ostrom discovered a ferocious new species which he named Deinonychus, the terrible claw, after its most prominent feature.
Put them into the attack configuration, which I think is very effective. Scares me. They were, I'm sure, very efficient killing animals. They must have hunted in packs, and that's the first evidence that I know of that had been found to indicate that any dinosaur actually hunted in groups, in packs, like wolves. That, I think, is the most significant thing in our changed thinking about some dinosaur behavior.
The Peabody, as well as other museums and animal parks across the country, is host to spectacular touring exhibitions from such companies as Dynamation International Corporation. These animatronic recreations incorporate the latest ideas about how these animals looked and behaved, and even how they sounded. They call this region of southern Alberta, Canada, the Badlands. It was a subtropical swamp 100 million years ago. Countless dinosaurs were fossilized in the sediments of muddy river deltas. In the midst of this stark landscape, a high-tech multimedia center has materialized to showcase the rich diversity of prehistoric life found in the quarries near here. At the Turrell, you'll find a menagerie of dinosaurs to rival any other museum. It looks like an Albertosaurus is having Centrosaurus for dinner. Ongoing research pieces together the clues to ancient life. If you want to be a dinosaur detective, you can be, by joining a museum-sponsored day dig during the summer, or other supervised digging programs for volunteer fossil finders. As many as a dozen new skeletons are found in these hills every season.
One of those big claws like the fellow had on the bus.
A joint of some kind.
This is a real opportunity to participate in the process of discovery. If field work isn't your thing, you can stroll through the museum's climate-controlled paleoconservatory, filled with the Mesozoic flora that the dinosaurs munched on. Dino designers can create their own at computer stations, where only your imagination is the limit. If you had to pick one showplace of the fossil world, this would be it. The Quarry Visitors Center at Dinosaur National Monument, 20 miles east of Vernal, Utah. Geologic uplifting has exposed a 200-foot-long wall of bones, 2,000 of them locked in stone, just as deposited, the remains of hundreds of animals trapped in the flood of a long-ago river.
What the public is seeing when they get here is a display of bones in the rock from the Jurassic period about 150 million years ago.
From the observation deck, diagrams help visitors locate the bones of different species.
Actually, the skeletons that are in here are very jumbled. We have a relatively complete Camarasaurus, about 80% complete, including a skull. We also have a Camarasaurus skull with neck vertebrae still attached to it.
Displays feature animals captured within the wall. While most were plant eaters, this meat-eating Allosaurus also met the same fate. Park ranger programs bring to life the story of what happened here for audiences of young and old alike.
The most asked question, where's the bathroom?
There's much more to see in Dinosaur National Monument than fossils. Visitors can explore 325 square miles of spectacular canyon country sprawling across the border of Utah and Colorado. With scenic drives, wild rivers, camping, hiking, and fishing, this is an undiscovered gem of the national park system. Scientists estimate that 99% of all dinosaur species remain to be identified. We may never find them all, but we won't stop looking.
We think it's a brand new species of carnivorous dinosaur, a little bit smaller than the Allosaurus, but it's one of the more complete specimens we've found in the park. It's probably the most exciting thing that's happened around here in a long time.
So there are all sorts of new, unimagined concepts, ideas, understandings about these animals from the Mesozoic. All we need is more people to explore and to analyze, to investigate. Those of us active now are not going to be active forever. And I hope that there's a crop of bright, energetic successors out there.
Look at that tail! See how it almost looks like a wing? The way it's coming down? Holy cow! Look at this one!
Everywhere you go, there's this dinosaur fascination. I ask myself, why are all these prehistorics sweeping the nation? A trip to the museum, maybe that's where we'll find a clue. White creatures long extinct have such magic for me and you. Hallucination, you say, paranoia, no way, it's prehysteria. Dinosaurs everywhere, on my TV, in comic books, in the movie screen.
He left his dinosaur tracks, dinosaur tracks in the ground, dinosaur tracks in the ground to be found by you and me. He left his dinosaur tracks, dinosaur tracks in the ground, dinosaur tracks in the ground to be found by you and me.